Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby and today we're gonna be talking about the bear. Finally, and I say that because I watched season 1 in 2022 and then I also watched season 2 when it aired. I think that was about 6 months ago, and I loved season 1. I thought season 1 was excellent. But at the time of watching season 2, what was going on screen was a little bit too close to what was actually going on in my real life. And so, though I watched it, I wasn't able to fully appreciate everything that was going on because it was just a lot. I have no better description for that. Then it was a lot to process at the time, so I didn't even want to. So after them basically sweeping all of the awards that they were nominated for at the Emmys, I decided to give it another go, and I finished the last episode entitled The Bear about 30 minutes ago. So I just want to say that this will definitely not be the last video that I make on The Bear. I have to watch it again, I have to digest again, but these are going to be my first thoughts after watching season 2, and what a season it was. I just have to say also that they won all of their categories for the comedy. They were nominated in mostly comedy. Sorry, I'm going away from the light. They were nominated in the comedy category, and you have a lot of criticism from people saying that this show is not comedy, it's extremely sad, it's drama. It is, and I hear you. I don't agree, because I think people are forgetting that the awards that they're winning right now are for season 1 due to the writer's strike that was happening. They postponed, I don't know what they did, but the awards that are being handed out right now are for season 1. And I think season 1 is incredibly hilarious, stressful, and there is that heart to it, or you could even call it a dark comedy, but most of the heavy moments are preceded by something that makes it so hilarious. The first thing off of my head is that scene where Sydney was arguing with Richie, and she's like, "You are a loser. Everyone thinks you're a loser. You hate me because I see that you're a loser, and you're a loser to your own daughter." And we see that tense build up, and then Sydney stabs him with the knife. And it just becomes it just breaks all of the tension in the scene, and I think the comedy does that beautifully. So the fact that they're nominated in that category, I'm not even upset. But I do have to say, in accordance to that season 1 was exceptionally way more hilarious than season 2. That is a plane that I'm gonna let pass by. Yeah, season 2 was a lot heavy on the drama side, and it'll be really hilarious when they go in to sweep in the drama category next year at the Emmys. I'm just gonna say that. What I'm gonna do today is that it's all really fresh, and season 2 is the most fresh in my mind since that is what I just got done watching. I want to discuss some of the characters and some of my favorite episodes, because I think that grief and anxiety are two topics that I think are rarely ever done correctly. Most times these emotions are seen as loud, and especially with anxiety and grief, we get the writing where it's all screaming, where you have the panic attacks, where you have these emotions being portrayed as very, very loud. But in my experience, and especially something that is backed up with this show, is that these emotions tend to be very, very quiet, and they tend to be internalized, and that loud explosion is really something that has been brewing over time. And this is something that I really, really admire about the show, because the show is so loud. and at times the characters and the things that they do are so loud, but the underlying emotions, all of the grief, the lack of direction, the anxiety, all of these things are quietly embedded into these characters until it's like, okay, I can't control this anymore, and then I just need to let it out. So these are some of the things that I was thinking after getting done with the final episode, and I wanted to sit down and talk about them because I was thinking about them in my head, and I thought this would be a good idea. So also, if I'm looking down, I just have like a few notes jotted down on my phone, and yeah, let's get into it. So the first 3 characters that I want to discuss are, they didn't really have big storylines this season, but they were there and they helped propel some of the other characters a bit further. So I'm just going to talk about them in the 3. So that is Fack, Luca, and Jimmy. Fack, comedic gold. most times where I was like laughing, like hunched over laughing, he was in those scenes. So that's one. And number 2, the whole fire, the fire test. What do they call it? The test, there's like a word in there, the fire something test that they were all stressed over. He is a genius for figuring that out. And Mikey wanting to burn down the restaurant to get insurance money, that was something else. But I'm not even sure how he would be able to get the insurance money, since like the beef was never registered as a business place to begin with. But that is a whole different conversation all by itself. But yeah, I have nothing that much to say about Fack. I just want to see why Francine, Fack, and why Natalie have beef. Because Natalie seems so sweet, and judging by Fack's character, I can have an idea of why Natalie would have an issue with his sister if he and his sister act the same way. I can see that, but also Natalie is so sweet, so a grudge running that long, I don't know about that. Next, we get into Luca. The girls love them some Will Poulter, so I'm not even surprised that you whores I'm not even surprised that you guys are like clamoring to have him back, and I guess he was really instrumental. Ooh, the lighting went very, very weird there for a second. He was really instrumental in Marcus's Denmark arc, if we can say that. He's cool, I guess. The most interesting person out of this trio to me is Uncle Jimmy. If we get an episode about Uncle Jimmy next season, I would like to know where the money is coming from. I would like to know how rich Uncle Jimmy actually is. I live next to an airport. I don't know if you can hear that. That is another plane. I think it's Delta. It is, or is that American? No, I think it's Delta. Where is the money coming from? What does Uncle Jimmy do? Because he has enough money to be loaning Michael over $350,000 and to even give them more to join as a business partner. And anything they need, any document they need, they're like, okay, it's Uncle Jimmy, let's go to Uncle Jimmy. So I would like to know how Uncle Jimmy got his money, and what exactly is going on there. I think that would be like interesting, to be honest, because it doesn't seem like the rest of his family is as well off as he is. So that would be quite interesting. And those are like the 3 characters who were in the season who are in the show, but don't actually have, like, I would say, a major arc at the moment. They're there to push the story along, but we don't really know much about them besides that. Next, we get into Claire. A lot of you hate Claire because you want Sydney and Cammie together. And while I understand that, I need us to think a little bit more critically, because although Carmi's like interest into the bear and into the construction of the bear is like directly inverted to, I forget the math, it's like this, it's directly, it's an inverse, is it inverse correlation? Not, it's like inversely correlated. It's like as Carmi's interest in what's her face, Claire, goes up, his interest in the bear goes down. So they're inversely related, right? It is not Claire's fault that Carmi cannot divide his time properly between his girlfriend and opening up a restaurant. Can you have a girlfriend or can you be in a relationship while opening up a restaurant? Yes, you can. Is that something that Carmi can do? Has Carmi showed us throughout this entire season or these past 2 seasons that that is something he is capable of doing? And there are reasons why. We understand that Carmi is going through a lot, but I've also been seeing on Twitter that you guys are saying that mentally ill people deserve to be in relationships, and I can give you that, but Carmi hates himself. Carmi does not like who he is. He does not like himself. I struggle to see how a person who hates themselves can be in a relationship with someone else and claim to love them, because he claims to have loved Claire, but when it gets down to it, when he is locked in that freezer, he says that nothing, I believe his words were like, I should not be providing joy and amusement to someone else, and I cannot be receiving joy and amusement. Like, that is a man who needs to figure some shit out before he engages in any type of relationship with anybody else, especially even with his coworkers and his friends. And this is not about Carmi, this is about Claire, but I just need to get this point off. Like, he needs to, like, understand some things about himself, and try to work on those things before he can be actively engaged in a romantic relationship with anybody else. Back to Claire specifically. One of the reasons that I thoroughly enjoy this show, and I enjoy the characters who I might not even like. So for example, in the first season, I did not like Richie, but I understood him, and I understood him because he felt like a real person. In some shows or even in some books, when writers who don't necessarily know what they're doing drop a character into a story, it feels like this character's story begun on the first page of this book. Really good characters, like when you start understanding them, or when you start watching a TV show, you understand that this person had a life before this show, if you understand what I mean. Like, Sydney's life did not start when she walked into the bear. She had other dreams, she had other aspirations, she had other failures, and you get that from all of the characters in this story except for Claire, which is why she bothers me. But I don't know, or I'm pretty sure she's probably meant to be written that way. I've also seen people call her a manic pixie dream girl, and I sort of take offense to that idea. If you don't know, the manic pixie dream girl is this archetype in media whereby you have this young, usually attractive, usually white girl who is there for the male protagonist to, he basically finds himself within her, he trauma dumps onto her, and she pulls him out of his depression, and she's this girl who doesn't have any like dreams or aspirations of her own. She's just there to be this cardboard cutout so that this man can become a better person. And I keep seeing people call Claire a manic pixie dream girl, and I disagree with that, because the manic pixie dream girl is an archetype that I don't think people knew it was an archetype when they were writing. So for example, I think that she is a representation of what men over years and years and years have come to view women as. They didn't know that they were writing the Manic Pixie Dream Girl when they were writing the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. They were just writing women because they wanted to write women this way. This is what they thought that women were like, or what women should be like. The writers intentionally wrote Claire in this way, and we know this because this is the way that Carmy views her. I don't know if I am making sense. Carmy views her as his, it comes off as he views her as his salvation, and I don't know if that is too strong of a word to use, but Claire, like, besides the limited times where she actually, like, goes to the restaurant, he invites her to the restaurant to see what's going on, and on opening night of the Bear, she is also there, but she is not integrated into this new endeavor in the way that the rest of the characters are. It almost feels like every time Carmy is not at the Bear and he's with Claire, it feels like a different story. And I think that was intentional because that's the way that Carmy views her. It almost feels like he views her as, like, separate from this entity that he is working on. And if you really love someone, if you really want to be in a relationship with them, you want them to be involved in all aspects of your life, even if they might not understand it. But it felt like Claire was over here and then the rest of the Bear cast was over there. She didn't feel real, and that could also be a product of Carmy constantly waiting for the shoe to drop. He said it himself. He said it. He was like, I'm afraid, like, this is too good. Good things don't happen to me. This is too good. So this is probably going to end. Do I think she comes back in season 3? Probably. They're probably gonna, like, reconcile or something, or come to, maybe reconcile is the wrong word. There's gonna be closure. There has to be closure there, because him saying all that to her from the freezer, albeit he did not know that she was there, but him uttering those words, like, I would not know how to deal with that. And this also comes back to this, like, intentional Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I'm gonna call it that because I do think the writers intended for it to come out this way. There's this actress who said that in discussing female rage and how female rage is portrayed in movies and episodic television, I don't remember the name of the actress, but she said she was tired of seeing women be upset in film and then you just have this one, like, tear running down their face. And seeing Claire cry kind of reminded me of that, though she is not the person to be confrontational or make a scene in that way. She did tell Carmy it's really sad that he thinks the way that he thinks after he said what he. I don't know what happened to my video right there because it cut out and I can't find the footage, but I was essentially just saying that after Carmy said what he said, Claire's only response was to tell him how sad it is that he thinks the way that he thinks. And I can't help but wonder that if it were another character, they would have probably stayed there and, I don't know, argued with him a little bit. But once again, that isn't Claire, and she is not meant to be this, like, opposing force, you could say, when it comes to Carmy. She was just that. She was his salvation. I'm going to use the word again, but in being that, it wouldn't make sense for her to argue with him, you know? Okay, so in reviewing this, I realized that I made, like, 2 mistakes, and this video is all over the place, but that's the fun of it. I forgot to add 1 point about Claire, and I forgot to talk about Marcus entirely. So there's that. As it relates to Claire, I just want to point out the fact that everyone made it a clear point to
enforce and reinforce the fact that she knew Carmi before the bear, before the beef, and before he went off to culinary school. So with that in mind, I do think that there is a part of Carmi, don't know how big it is, but a part that sort of wants to cling on to the past by using Claire to do that, because she knew him before all of this. It's easier to, stay within that frame of mind when she's around. He can pretend that everything else isn't going on. As it relates to Marcus, Chef Marcus, that boy can cook. He can cook, and I'm a big dessert person, so I'm looking at these desserts and I'm like, yes, I would totally eat that. And I do think he was also really instrumental in giving Carmi that boost of confidence, because the way that Carmi looked at him after he referred to him as yes chef, that's when he really lit up, you could say. That was one of the first times that I saw what a determined Carmi would look like. His relationship with Sydney, listen, Sydney was focused on the restaurant. I genuinely think she had no idea that Marcus was developing a crush on her, and you could tell by the awkward way in which she responded when he asked to go out for dinner or whatever after work. I prefer them as platonic. That's it. More about Marcus, I do think that the call, I want to be optimistic, so hopefully the call he's getting isn't telling him that his mom is dead after he had a really, really successful night. But looking at the tone of this show, that's exactly what might happen. But yeah, we'll wait to see.
But I Claire's cute, I guess, but I don't think she was instrumental in a lot of ways, I can say, because without her, Carmi does not get stuck in that fridge. My lighting is super bad. Okay, I think this is better. I think this is a little bit better. Yeah, without her, Carmi doesn't get stuck in the fridge, and without her, Richie, why do I keep calling him Reggie? Richie does not call him Donna, which is probably going to spiral into a lot of things come next season. But without her, those things don't happen. So let's see where it goes from here. The next character that I want to discuss is Ebra. While I understand why Carmi and Claire needed to happen, why that whole thing needed to take place, I wish we would have spent more time on Ebra. I think he is so interesting, or at least what we've seen from him. I think it's so interesting. And this is where the dichotomy of having him, or personality types like him and Tina, be represented, because they are two older people who experience change in drastically different ways. We'll get into Tina a little bit later, but the way that she confronts it head on, and while she was resistant to it in the first season, but in the second season we see her grow and flourish and be excited to learn. And you have Ebra, and I think he's different because it's not that he's stuck in his ways and he doesn't want to learn. He is genuinely terrified. I could see the fear in him. He was scared. And I think that amounts to, I don't know his backstory. I don't know what the writers are going to do with this, but I think that amounts to him being in the war. I think he mentioned he was in the war in Somalia, and he's a veteran, and I can only imagine that the structure, or the lack of structure, in the beef was really freeing to him, because when he goes to culinary school, I can only imagine once again how rigid that environment is, and how he was there was so much trepidation around wearing the uniform. He was like, I don't want to wear this uniform. I don't want to get into this. So I think that there's this trauma in the back of his head from the war, and how he wanted to adjust to things, because we see in that conversation with him and Tina where he's I was scared. He says, I was scared, and it was such a touching scene, and Tina was just so she just embraced him after that, basically, you know, as friends do. But I really want to learn a little bit more of his character. I think that would be really, really interesting. And then we get into Tina, my mom. I personally know a lot of Tina's from season 1. Especially being like a young woman who recently entered like the real workforce after graduating, you come into contact with a lot of older women who are like kind of gatekeepers in a way, and they are so resistant to change, and they are like mean to the younger women who want to learn some things. And there was that kind of explains the tension between Tina and Sydney in the beginning, because she's just like, who is this person? And I don't know if she felt maybe a little bit threatened because Tina, sorry, was the only woman there previously, and now you have Sydney, who's new, who has all these ideas, who wants to change everything, and you're like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute, what's going on here? This is too fast for me. So we have that Tina in season 1, and then Tina in season 2 is just such a breath of fresh air. When Sydney asked her to be her sous chef, I cried because I'm a big baby and I can like feel the tears welling up in my eyes. And when Carmi gave her his knife, I cried again. And I'm not gonna cry on camera because that is tacky, but I don't know, just the hopefulness, I think, is what Tina kind of brought to this show. Because while I do, Carmi sometimes he's up, there's this like fear of optimism, I think, when it comes to Carmi. But with Tina, she's just like ready to go. She's like, yes, I can do this. And the fact that they actually, as in like the team and Sydney and Carmi, actually invested into these people by sending them to culinary school, by sending Marcus to pastry school, or sending him to Copenhagen. The fact that they actually believe and invest in these people, it's just amazing. It's amazing. So I love Tina. We didn't get her background. She was like one of the focuses of one of the episodes when she went to do that whole karaoke thing. That was also really, really sweet. So I love her, and yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. Next, we have Richie. If you would have told me in 2022 that he would come to be one of my favorite characters, I would tell you that you're lying. And this is where, like, no shit. Whoa. Like, first things first, he was an asshole the first season. And the first season, like, even though he was an asshole, I could understand why. He had to basically bury Michael. He had to take care of Donna, and we'll get to Donna in a second. And he was running the bear for a time, and he was probably threatened by Carmi coming in and wanting to change everything that reminded him of Michael. And so he acted out and he lashed out, and it was probably because you could see a little bit in the flashbacks that Richie was like a troublemaker a little bit, and just you could see that was part of him. But the grief added onto that, and missing Mikey adding onto that, and it just, I think, changed him as a person. And then we get into the first season of episode 2, where he's just like, what is my purpose? And I thought it a special moment where Carmi was essentially like, I don't have time for this, and then he looks at Richie and he's like, okay, I do have time for this. And we just have Richie throughout the entirety of the season, almost barring like the last like 2 to 3 episodes after he staged at that restaurant in Chicago. He's just like terrified that they are gonna drop him because he has nothing to offer. And taking away from this point just like a little bit, I think that, which is why the whole like what do you bring to the table kind of annoys me, just on a whole tangent, because what you bring to the table is yourself. And once you start viewing yourself as not enough, then that is wherein the problem lies. And so watching that Forks episode, Forks is my favorite episode, one of my favorite episodes, because we finally see what is going on. We finally see him like get it. No, Carmi is not trying to send you away. He's sending you to learn something. He's trying to get you to find your purpose, and then you use that and you help out the ones that you love and your family. And that was just incredible to me, especially dealing with the grief. Because under the fact that Richie, I keep calling him Reggie. I would just call him Cousin because that's easier. Under the fact that Cousin was such an asshole, I think we forgot that he was also grieving. He's an imperfect person who tries too hard, who does not know where he fits in, and so he fucks everything up. But then once we actually like find out who he is, also I don't know what he did to fuck up with Tiff that badly, okay? Cause in the Christmas episode they seemed so happy, you know? But once we see him in the suit and he's like, I feel good about myself in this suit, I was like, yes. And at the end, when he is driving the episode, he's driving the kitchen, I said yes. I said, what a redemption arc. And also, I just want to say this is also like a testament to brilliant writing, because that entire Forks episode is a character arc all on its own. In most like TV shows, and though he had started like previously, but in most TV shows you need a whole season to do a character arc. They redeemed his character in one episode, and I think it was like 30 minutes. It wasn't even one of the longer episodes. They redeemed him in 30 minutes, and I just thought that was brilliant. And my light is like fading away, so I need to wait. Yeah, I guess this is better. I don't know. I love him. I love him. I do. I just need to know what he did to fuck up with Tiff so bad and his kid, because they looked really happy in the Christmas episode, but that's neither here nor there. Now we get into Sugar/Donna, and I grouped them together because Suge needs therapy. Everybody in this show needs therapy, but Suge, and this is also the brilliance of withholding information until it's actually needed, because the entire time, like through season 1, I'm like, okay, where's the mom? Season 2, I'm like, where's the mom? And then when I saw the mom, I said, okay. I said, this is why you've been hiding the mom, because the mom is obviously sick. And I believe Sugar is the eldest sibling and the eldest daughter, and we know how eldest daughters and families, we know how that works. But are you okay? Sugar asking her mom if she's okay becomes the catalyst to one of the worst family dinners I have ever seen. And mind you, this is only one dinner. So we don't know what the dinners have been looking like over the past like years, which is why Donna was like, I have to beg Carmi to come back home. I wouldn't want to come back home either if I was Carmi. I would not want to step foot in that house. Sorry, if I knew that is the dysfunction that I was stepping back into, I wouldn't want to do that. She's lucky he came back home, and I would have left. I would have left, because did you not see that dinner? Did you not see that dinner? Anyways, back onto Suge. A brilliant woman. A brilliant woman. Without Sydney and Sugar, there is no way that the beef would have ever like happened, because Carmi was just not in it. He was not in the game. And mind you, Suge is pregnant. Suge is pregnant. She's like, do not treat me any differently, because I need this shit to work. And in the end, she ended up working there as well. But I just love her. I love her character. I love her as a person, and I have nothing else to say about Suge besides she needs to get some therapy. When Donna came outside the restaurant, and we have Pete there, and Pete is so fucking sweet. Pete is so fucking sweet, and based on what Suge has been through, she needs someone like Pete, who is sweet and just kind. When their mom showed up at the restaurant, I started to cry. I was a slobbering mess, and she's like, this is fresh, okay, I just finished. And she's like, I love my kids, but I don't know how to say I'm sorry. I don't know how to apologize. And I understand the sentiment of her wanting to, like, I see it both ways. I see Natalie wanting her mom to be there, and I see Pete like wanting her to come and telling her that they want you there. But also, this is like a really big night for them, and like you don't, it's a really big night for them, and you don't know if your presence is going to be welcomed, you know. You don't know, it's going to be awkward, and you might not want to like taint, or you might think that you're going to be like tainting or staining a really, really big moment. So I hope next season they kind of like, and this is where I think that shows like this kind of give you some compassion. It reminds me of what Zendaya said with Rue, where she was like, if you can find love and compassion for Rue, then you can find love and compassion for someone in your life. And I'm not part of their family, and these are fictional characters, I know, but like, walk with me. I'm not part of their family, and I don't understand the impact and the trauma that Donna caused on, I'm focusing on all of them, but like Sugar especially, because she's been there the longest. Carmi has been off doing chef stuff, and Mikey's not there anymore, so she's probably been there the longest, though they don't have the best relationship because her mother didn't even know she was pregnant. But forgiving your parents, I've always been like a proponent of, you don't have to forgive your parents, right? But I hope that they come to some understanding in the next season. And now we get into Sydney, my sister, the brains of this operation. When they were under the table, and Carmi was like, no, and Sydney was like, you could have done this without me, and Carmi was like, no, I couldn't. I agreed. Sydney was 200% all in. She was all in. She came up with the menu. She's hiring the staff. She's running everything, while Carmi is running around with his girlfriend. And she was a little bit jealous, maybe. I don't think if it was a romantic jealousy. I do think it was like a professional jealousy, because she's like, I need all of your attention focused on this restaurant, and I need it so that this can work. I need you to be a partner so that this can work. She had all rights to say that, but she was like, why are you spending so much time with this girl when we have this restaurant to open up? So that is one. And Sydney's other like minor storyline was with her dad, with whom she has a really great relationship with, and I could see both sides of the coin, you know. As a parent, though I'm not a parent, but from what they say, you want to know that your kid has like a stable job or a stable life, and that they're okay and they won't have to worry about things. And while it does seem that the dad has money, and he's like, you can live in my house and all of these different things, it's also It's another thing to be a young creator that has doubts on your own, that wants to go out on a limb, and you already have your internal voice telling you, okay, this is stupid, this is dumb, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And to have that external voice also at the same time, mind you, you're living with your own voice, so you're hearing it on a daily, and then you have to hear it externally too. That can be overwhelming. So that's where I think that her dad could have done better. And also with Sydney, I do think that she already has a healthy dose of failure by herself. She ran a business previously and it did not work out, and which is why she's here, why she's putting so much time and attention into the bear. And I think I wrote it down. She said, why can't the one thing be the thing? Hold on, let me look it up. She says, when she's having that conversation with her dad, why can't we put everything we have into everything we can? And I think that is something that is going to resonate with a lot of creatives in different industries, because you get told so often that this is not the thing, this can't be the thing, this isn't a realistic thing, and then at the end you have her dad telling her this is the thing because you're so good at it and this is so successful. But I can't wait to see where Sydney goes next. That's all I can say. I love her. She's my sister. We have the same sense of humor. We have like, when I'm on camera I'm like this, but in my real day-to-day life I'm more like a Sydney. Yeah, I just love her. And next we get into Carmi, my love, I think that Carmi is one of the best written characters that we have on television today, and I want to go back to those emotions of grief and anxiety that I mentioned previously. Every time Carmi walks, he does this like this bounce on his feet. His hands are always fiddling with something. He's always like exaggerating these deep sighs, like the weight of the world is on his shoulders. Jeremy Allen White portrays these physical manifestations of anxiety so brilliantly, and his capacity to do that is really, really incredible. But when Carmi said he came back to fix the restaurant because in such a way it is fixing the relationship that he had with his brother, and the reason why he went on to become a chef in the first place is to spite his brother and their tenuous relationship at that time, that kind of had me thinking, like, does Carmi want this? I think that he does. I think under everything he wants this, but I don't know if it's a I want this or I need this so that everything can be okay. By me fixing this restaurant, I'm fixing my life, and therefore everything can be okay. Which is why it was so impactful, the last scene where he's locked in the fridge and he's getting all of these different flashbacks of how everyone has probably reverted back to who they were in the beginning. The lighting is so bad, sorry. Sorry. The sun is like, ooh, it's giving golden hour. Shit. They would say I bleached my skin. Anyways, let me come back into the shade where I look normal. But like the end of the episode, he's in the fridge and he's locked in there, and he's thinking that everyone has gone back to how they were in that first season. I'm gonna shit. And they did it. They executed the night perfectly. It went brilliantly, and They didn't need Carmi to do it. They didn't need him to do it. Now, a regular person would think, like, this is a manifestation of all of my hard work. Oh my god. Fuck. A regular person would think, this is a manifestation of all of my hard work. I sent 2 people to culinary school. You sent Marcus to Copenhagen. You've inspired Sydney. Sydney is only here because she believes in you, and you have inspired her. I have done all of this. But instead of looking at it from that perspective, we just have him in there and just like ragging on himself and thinking the worst of himself. So while he was thinking that everyone has basically reverted to who they were in the beginning, Carmi is the one who has reverted to how he was in the beginning. This is a regression, or maybe just like he was burying all of those emotions, and then it all came to the surface, with this episode. And it is such a good case study on grief and loss of purpose and fear of failure. I feel like all of the things that I just listed is manifested in each one of the staff of the bear. So Cousin and Sydney and Marcus and Tina, but they're all like brewing in Carmi, even though he's the one that has the most experience. He's the one that's supposed to be inspiring people, but he can't see that because he doesn't believe it of himself, which is such a fucking interesting case study. What happens next season? I think Carmi goes to therapy. He has to. I don't see this story progressing until everybody needs to go to therapy. Everybody needs some level of help. But I think everyone else besides him was able to accomplish something this season that in turn had them feeling good about himself. Richie being the one to basically drive the night, leading them to success. Sydney, the menu coming to fruition, her cooking, her being in charge, and her, even though she threw up at the end of the night, like that was a successful night for her. Tina, know what to say about Tina. Marcus, just everybody portrayed excellence, and that was like sort of kind of because of Carmi, but he doesn't see that because he was locked away. And until he can have a better understanding of himself, a better understanding of his self-worth, I don't see this going anywhere. So next season, my prediction is Carmi goes to therapy, tries to reconnect with his mom. It might be too soon, who knows. So because them little group sessions not working. He had one group session that whole season after he met Claire, so I don't know what that tells you about that. If you need to go to group after you meet this girl that you supposedly like, who like you gave the wrong number to, I don't know what that says. But he needs to go to therapy. Also next season, I want Sydney to get a partner. I also want Carmi and Sydney to be endgame, and y'all are saying, oh, they can be platonically in love. She can be platonic with Marcus. Let her be platonic with Marcus. I need, because that under the scene table changed me as a person. So I need Sydney to get like a love interest, and I usually don't like slow burn. So this is like very, very, very important that I'm saying this. But Carmi needs to work on himself, and my girl Sydney needs to explore. So I want her to get a love interest, and then she can stay with the love interest until maybe like season 4, and then she and Carmi, while Carmi's like fixing himself, he's a little bit jealous. Because I want him to be jealous. I like when people are jealous. Call me toxic, but it's fine. And by the end of season 5, I think they get together. But in order to do that, Carmi needs to go to therapy, and he needs to stop yelling at her every 15 minutes. I understand that he probably feels like the closest to Sydney, and when you are having a panic attack and you start thinking about your girlfriend and your family, they bring on more thoughts of panic. But then you see Sydney and you start to calm down. That could also be a symptom of him associating her with work, and maybe work is where he feels most comfortable. But once again, I don't think as of now that Carmi... This lighting is so bad. Yeah, this is better. I don't think as of now Carmi is that good of a leader. So there's that. But I don't know. They're gonna have to give me more. If he's thinking about her to calm down when he's having a panic attack, I'm gonna need him to go to therapy and once again stop yelling at her every 5 minutes, and then we can talk about them being together in that way. I do think it'll be cute. I think that the foundation that they're building like now is like the perfect foundation for an actual relationship. But yeah, it needs work. What else also, one of my absolute favorite things about this show is the dialogue. And this is like, this is in different areas. The shortest episode, one of my favorite episodes, episode 7, is about 19 minutes, and then you have the long family episode, which is about an hour long. When these characters are having conversations, it doesn't feel rushed. Like, they talk and they talk. There's like one scene whereby the scene that like Marcus and Sydney are just talking. The scene where Luca and Marcus are just talking. The incredible work of Jeremy Allen White when he went to that therapy session. He's saying he didn't really know his brother. He didn't know he was using drugs, which according to the Christmas family episode, it seems that everybody knew that Michael was on drugs. It seems like everybody knew, but that could have just been my interpretation. The way that and it's only because the dialogue is so good that it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't seem like this dialogue is just here to get us to the next scene. It's thought out. It's like the way that real people talk, but at the same time you kind of get the gist that all of these adults don't know how to have adult conversations, and it's just incredible. It is incredible. My camera died, so I had to charge my battery because I only have one battery because the other, you don't want to know all about that. But as I was saying, my favorite episode is episode from season 1 is episode 7. I can't remember what it's called, but it's where they start getting all of the orders in, and it just becomes so completely fucking hectic. And that episode is 19 minutes long, and it feels like the longest thing in the entire, I think I paused like 10 times because my heart could not stop beating. But that is one of my favorite episodes, and also whereby we found out, we knew this before, but where we actually found out that Carmi has I wouldn't call it an anger problem. I would think he doesn't know how to emotions of dissatisfaction, because I don't think he has an anger problem as such. I don't think he's necessarily violent as such, but he needs to learn how to control his emotions. And I think that he doesn't like not being in control, and I do think that is an element to like what that chef did to him. Why do I sound like that? Of what that chef did to him when he was in chef school, because seeing your former chef or boss in the faces of your current patrons at the diner, I hope he gets help. I hope he gets the help that he needs. But I loved that episode. The Christmas episode, incredible. As I said, withholding the information so that people get it when they need it. Because as when we saw the mom, when we saw Donna, I said, okay, this is why we have never seen her before. The light is really nice here. Yeah. And my other favorite episode is, I believe it's called Sunday, where Sydney is basically going about the town and trying to cleanse her palate, where Carmi was supposed to be with her, but he was with Claire doing something. So there's that. But it's also that fact of like taking them out of the kitchen, and you have Sydney becoming engrossed in the food culture of Chicago, and she's meeting with these different restaurants and these different chefs and learning new ideas. I absolutely loved that. And Forks is one of the best episodes of TV that I have ever seen. Shout out to what I can't remember the actor's name that plays Reggie, but shout out to him. He did a phenomenal job. And also the bear. I think those would be my top like 4 episodes of this show, and I think that it's only gonna get better. I think after this, the sweep that they did and the sweep that they're about to do next year, Hulu's gonna want 10 seasons of this show. And yeah, I can't wait to see how it gets better. And this is just the first video on the bear. The next one will probably be about like, I don't know what it's gonna be about. Yeah, but it'll be about something. It'll probably be about like anxiety and like depression in TV shows, and comparing how they do it in the bear to some of the other like overhanded kind of forced ways that I've seen it be done in television. But that was it for me. What did I do that was it for me. I hope you enjoy this video, and I will see you in the next one. I'm still like, I haven't had the time to film the Lolita one that I was supposed to post like 2 weeks ago, but I'm working on it. Whenever that comes out, it comes out. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing if you do, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.